Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised on DNA, laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside, why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stat cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of those lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
Okay, my friend. I don't even know anymore. I'm trying too hard, I think, to get that. I don't even know, not even an accent. Can't even call it that. What do we call it when someone fails at doing something like that?
I just call it being Don. Yeah,
there we go. Slippery. We're being slippery. That's what we
I think you're slippery when you're good. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when you're actually on top of your game, that's when you're the slippery D. But when you're like this, it's like, oh, he's trying something new. Okay.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts a little bit. That hurts. That hurts.
But it's all love. Of course, Don is a master of impersonations and accents, one of which is Vladimir Putin, who happens to be a very close and personal friend of the D's.
Hey,
Don, tell us about the last time you were at the Kremlin.
You know what? I can't really disclose that. Man, and have you even checked out some of the like old school videos, or relatively new, of his freaking $1 billion mansion that he has? It is ridiculous.
No, I haven't, but I would think that, as the world leader or not the world leader, but the Russian leader, you'd expect him to have some pretty nice digs, right?
Oh yeah, dude. And he has a ton of money in oil.
Sure.
Of course, he probably doesn't disclose it and all that. I mean, who needs it? Or who needs to disclose that when you're the guy in the USSR? That, and no one can forget, and no one should forget, the strength, the power move, going shirtless on top of a horse. I'm sure you've seen that picture. It's a power move.
I have, but it made me think of something like, what's up with world leaders being on top of horses? I say that because, yes, the most famous one is Vladimir Putin, but you've also seen Kim Jong-un riding a white horse through like the wintry mountains of North Korea. You've seen that before, right?
I haven't. I feel bad for that horse.
I know, I do, because it wasn't the biggest of horses, if you know what I mean. I worry about its arches and its supports and everything, but I think it's an interesting vision, right? Like, I think of cowboys horseback riding in American culture. That's very popular. It's something that's seen, with a lot of favoritism. Like, oh yeah, like he's a badass. Like, look at him riding on that horse and everything. And I think in Russian culture, it's very much the same, right? I think it's looked as a very manly, very masculine activity, riding, pretty much shirtless on a horse through wherever he's at. But, even beyond horses, did you know that in Russia, it's very common for you to even have tigers as pets in your backyard?
Oh, I believe it.
It's quite common. Yeah,
I believe it, man.
I bring it up. I bring it up because there's a lot of videos out there, especially on YouTube, where you get to see tiger owners just kind of having fun with their tigers. And it's the wildest thing. Like, you, of course, are a very proud and loving owner of a brand new puppy, of course. Yeah. And how is Yuzu doing? What's a quick update for Yuzu? He's doing okay?
He's good. He's growing. He's pretty much almost quadrupled in size from when we first got him. Maybe that's an underestimate, honestly.
What do you feed in Yuzu, man? Quadrupled in size.
Dude, dogs grow pretty much to like full maturity or I guess their physical adult bodies usually by year 1. And he's already a little bit past 6 months, so he's halfway there. Now it's all about just, building out that structure a bit. He's actually sleeping on the couch right now on our blanket. So good little guy. Still a rascal. He doesn't chew anything up, which is fantastic.
Yes.
He does do something that Shibas do, which is a lot of digging or fake digging. So he'll go on the couch and just go to town trying to dig, like on the actual pillow itself. And he's not scratching it or tearing it up. He's just, for some reason, digging.
Do you think it's like part of the kind of like the ancestral DNA? Where back in the day for these dogs in their lineage, they're just used to digging. They're scavenging all the time. and now they still try to do it, but it's more out of instinct than
Yep.
really necessity.
Yep. Yeah. At first, I thought it was a, you know, how some or our couches have little feathers, and sometimes they'll pop out, so you get like a little
Oh
prickly
yeah,
point.
yeah, for
So
sure.
I thought
Yeah.
that was the point, or like why he was doing it. Like he's like trying to dig out that one little thorn in his soft sleeping space.
Yeah.
But then, you know, my wife and I will go ahead and check. I'll be like, what the fuck? There's nothing here. Like, well, what the hell are you doing? And then he'll just go to a different spot and do the same thing. But yeah, no, I think it is. There's some point in its in his DNA, or it's just how they're built, that they don't let go of those sort of things, right? They're domesticated animals for sure, but it wasn't too far back in their lineage where they weren't domesticated compared to us humans from apes, right? So yeah, there's something there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, like his hunting, where, you know, we'll take him for a walk and then he'll see a bird that we don't even see, or a squirrel far off in the distance, and try to like book it at it.
Sure.
So that always goes on, and I'm sure that's the same with all dogs. And so there's something about, you know, that hunting nature, that primitive state of mind that they're in, that I don't think they'll ever let go of. Well, there have been some breeds that have been bred to death, right? Where they're pretty much just show dogs now.
Bred to death.
Dude, man, have you? I'm sure you've seen some of them where they're just fucking, like honestly, a fucking teacup dog. Like, what the hell is that? Like, why would you want a dog that it can fit inside of a teacup?
Wow, it's like a miniature.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I've actually never seen a teacup dog before. Is that a real thing?
Yeah,
They
man.
really have
Yeah,
those
and
breeds?
sure,
Wow.
it's not like a teacup, but it's still a cup of some sort, where
Oh,
they'll
okay.
fit a dog into it, and it's just there, like there. It doesn't even like bark or anything. It's just there trying to survive, given its small
Well,
frame and everything.
I just have to say that is certainly not my cup of tea. Huh?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one.
Okay. But I wanted to bring this up though. Like I was talking about tigers initially in Russia, and I thought to myself, say there weren't the whole laws and rules and regulations that we have in America. What kind of wild animal would you be interested in domesticating if we had no rules like that here? What would you want to try to be a pet owner of, like a bear or some
dude.
shit? Or
Nah,
like
man. I wanna get a fucking rhino.
Oh god, that's gonna be hilarious. Why a rhino?
Oh, dude. All right. First off, not for shits and giggles, like legitimate. The amount of fertilizer you're gonna get from that sucker is going to make my trees super happy. So it's gonna, who needs a composter when you have a damn rhino, right? You just shove all the garbage through
Feed it anything.
Yeah.
Feed it anything.
Yeah.
And just wait for it on the other side. Yeah.
It'll come out, right? I mean,
yeah.
you can get rid of your what's it called? Your contract with the city for trash. It's like boom, you got a living organic thing that you just walk and it gets rid of the trash, spreads it all over, and recycles all those nutrients.
But then after a certain point, Don, don't you have too much of that? Like, don't you have too much shit?
Okay, all right, okay, that might be an issue. But I'll make friends with the neighbors. I'm sure everybody would need it, or we'll take it every now and then.
So what you're saying is you're gonna have another side hustle where you
Yeah,
basically
man.
where you're shipping the shit.
There we go. That's the way to do it, right? Or just take it to a nursery. They always have big piles of compost.
That's true.
Just take it, once a day, give or take.
That's true. So it's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Don's primary reason of domesticating a
No,
rhino
not primary.
is for the
No,
composting.
it's the first one that came up.
Wow.
Second one.
Yeah.
No one's gonna fuck with you if they see a rhino in your front yard. You just sit that
Oh,
sucker
you
there.
put him in the front yard.
Oh, fuck
It would-
yeah, dude. Like, you know what? Like, sit him right there. Just be like, no fucking fences. Just train it to sit there unless something happens.
Just
Like, it just
out
sitting there. Right? Just give it a
Yeah.
nice tree so it has shade. And, can stay away
Sure.
from the rain. Or build
Sure.
or open the garage so that way, like, constantly leave it open and just say, like, all right, this is your home, buddy. Take care of it. Like, why have a doghouse when you got the garage and you just plop that sucker in there? You're set.
Wow.
You're set, right?
Wow.
So security, of course, obviously, people would be quite frightened if they see a behemoth just staring right at them, dead in the eye, not even blinking, just huffing and puffing. Right? And then, yeah, I think it'd be cool. Why would I want a horse to ride on to show dominance? like Putin. That's amateur. Fucking do a rhino, and then I'll be impressed.
So,
That's where it's
so
at.
would you actually ride on top of the rhino for transportation too?
No, I think it'd be a little too slow. Be a little too slow. A little too slow. And the amount of you don't get that many miles per gallon on that sucker. You know how much water I'm have to give it?
It's like the Hummer H1. It's the Hummer H1
no,
of
like
transportation.
old school, man. This is like
Oh yeah. It's like the 50-cent 2004 waste the Hummers.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Hell yeah,
I hear
dude.
you.
Oh yeah, imagine putting diamonds on that sucker. Just put on the ears. That'd be legit. That would be legit. Well, what about you, man? What animal would you pick?
Well, I've always liked the idea of a tiger, but I think I only like it in terms of the idea of it because it eats a lot of food, man. Like I think
Well,
I would
yeah,
run out of money just feeding the thing every day.
for sure.
I mean, that's tons of raw meat going into its belly, and same for the rhino. I imagine rhinos
Yeah,
to maintain that heavy body weight, you gotta feed that sucker a lot.
Hey, you know what?
So-
And well, the nice thing is they don't have to subsist on living animals or meat, right? Raw meat. I could probably fucking buy an acre of wheat and make it subsist off of that.
Wait, hold on. You'd buy an acre of wheat.
I
Where
don't
do
even
you
know,
go?
dude.
Where
Like,
do you
how
go
much?
to buy acres of wheat? Like, how do you?
Well, fuck it. I'll go to like some foreign or what do you call it? Uninhabited portions of the United States and just buy up acres of land and be like, just throw any seed you can out there, and then whatever grows, send it back. Because I'm sure that rhino is not going to be picky. Won't be a picky eater. Or
Well, I mean, I think
instead of the neighborhood's yard waste, be like, hey, just ship on the pile right in front of the garage. That'll be the rhino's job to knock it out. See?
You've thought this through, my friend. You've certainly thought this through.
Quite nimble when I'm slippery.
I suppose that's an advantage that you have. That is true.
But not a tiger. Not a tiger. So what are we looking at?
Oh no, I was still gonna go with tiger. I mean, fuck it. If I'm gonna go broke, let's have fun with this fantasy. Let's have the tiger. Let's feed it whatever it wants. Let's make him nice and fat, and just be on the prowl. Just kind of just be all over the street. And I won't allow my tiger just to be in my front yard. Like you're gonna allow your rhino to be restricted in that little space. I'll be like, you know what, tiger, go do you. Come back at like 9 p.m. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna ask any questions. Just have fun.
No, but people will be asking questions of you, man.
Oh yeah, they will.
How many times the cops are gonna come by like, hey, you're fucking tiger, fucking ate, a fucking car tire.
Your fucking tiger ate Tommy today. What do you have to say to Miss Jackson? I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, but Tommy's gone. Tommy's gone for now. But no, I like the tiger. I like your idea of a rhino. I get it. I think it's very practical, actually, because you weren't the first to mention defense. You actually mentioned composting. And I think that's a very practical reason to have a rhino. I'm also thinking you could probably supplement that with a little hippopotamus. If you're on the go, if you want like a little quick composter, you can have a hippo in there. And hippos are also interesting because I don't know if you know, but I read this random article recently that said that Pablo Escobar's hippos are kind of running wild. Like they're basically they're just like they're fornicating so much in Colombia that their population is out of control. Like it's nothing but Pablo Escobar's hippos in the whole country of Colombia.
That is fantastic.
And they're kind of they're trying to think of like what to do with it. It's kind of an interesting problem that they have. So what would you do, man? Let's say, Don, we're gonna really upset PETA. We're gonna really upset PETA on this podcast. How would you cull? Operative word here. How would you cull the population of of hippos in Colombia? What would be your strategy?
All right, PETA. Nothing against you. Okay, this is purely just to fix the hypothetical issue. Right, because it's a real issue, but it's not that big of a deal. Just hippos running wild. I would, just like for a rhino horn, right? Why are rhinos hunted? The horn is thought to have medicinal properties. Mm-hmm. I would figure out something in the hippo. For example, let's say the tongue brings longevity and proper hair growth.
Slipperiness.
Yes. right?
Yes.
You make that claim and you get people on board with it, and you supplement it with some scientific knowledge that our PhD friends can, write a paper about for us.
Yeah, we'll call up
Um,
Tony.
yeah. Or we'll call up your buddies over at the Oxford Student Journal.
Oh yeah. Well, you have to
I'm
remember
sure.
though, they're going to get PhDs in 10 years. I mean, they're
That's
just
right.
kind of
Well, I mean,
turning up.
we got. I don't think those hippos are going anywhere soon. So we got
That's
time.
true.
We got time.
Right.
So
For
you
sure.
set that up, right? And then at that point, you let the poachers take care of it, because
Mm.
the price of a hippo tongue would be enormous. And what better place to go to hunt hippos and gather hippo tongues than over there where the infestation is? And the government would probably subsidize them if they wanted to, a little healthily, to get rid of that population. What to do with the bodies? I don't know. Those are massive things.
You can probably feed it to your rhino, I suppose.
Your tiger, dude. You wanted to fatten them up, so we'll give them to the tiger.
Man, my tiger already has diabetes and shit. I don't think it can handle the hippopotamus meat on top of that. It's too much. The vet bills are enormous. Can you believe it? Come on. But as Don talks about actually killing these things through poaching, I would actually recommend get a big cargo ship, put a bunch of hippopotamuses on there, and make sure they're healthy and clean and vaccinated and everything, and move them to different countries.
Mm.
Instead of having all the hippos in Colombia, like who the fuck needs more hippos over there in Colombia, right? Move them to different countries and have them live in Australia perhaps.
Yeah, but
And
wouldn't they become invasive on wherever you plop them? Because I assume it's built in their DNA now to fuck and propagate. Right? So like everyone you send, they're like, oh, I'm gonna find a flying hippo over here international, and I'm gonna spread the seed, and I'm gonna Genghis Khan this motherfucker. You know?
I like how you said that. I'll find a fine hippo here international. Like these are some playboys, like the billionaire playboys rolling around.
Yeah, man. Because you know what they do is they'll be like, all right, we can leave the females. Let's just get rid of one of the genders. I think the males are dumb enough to get on the ship, right? They're adventurous, and boom, that's where they go and just start fucking everywhere. Yeah, man. See, it would exacerbate the problem. That's why you gotta cut their tongues.
Suddenly, the idea of bringing a lot of unwilling participants on a giant ship toward a new country that doesn't really sound good to me anymore. I think when I frame it in that way, I need to retract that statement completely, because I think this is a great segue. February 1st is the beginning of Black History Month, and I think there's been a lot of notable African American people in the history of the United States that we need to think about and talk about. And Don, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your favorite African American hero?
Kobe Bryant. R.I.P. R.I.P.
Perfect.
No. Well, if we want to say hero, you gotta actually say Malcolm X or what's it? Yeah, I'll stick with Malcolm X. Just for the sake of being honest. Okay. I'll save the others for you, right? I'll save the others for you. I think I've been trying to read a lot more into politics, right? Given that it's a fresh start for the government, the U.S. government in 2021.
Oh, U.S. I'm glad you specified U.S.
Right, U.S. government, 2021, and so I'm trying to get into it. And one of the things I'm realizing is that speeches can be very, very impactful. We're used to getting tidbits of information and sound bites, but when you actually listen in to the speeches, those that are willing to listen and extrapolate all the nuances in the speaker's words, you get a lot more out of it. And there's a lot of hope and a lot of goodness that came out of Martin Luther King Jr. And I think there has yet to be a speaker that was as impactful as MLK Jr. That I've come across in listening to their speeches. Now, it's more philosophical, sure, but that's what I feel is important, right? When a speech is happening, you want to change someone's way of thought to something similar or what you dream of. And what better way of doing that than the way that he did it with his fantastic speeches? Not even just his I Have a Dream speech. We're talking all of them.
Question for you, though. And I really like this topic, in terms of giving speeches. Do you think it's important for the speaker to be reading his own words, or are you okay with having a speaker read off of somebody else's speech, a speech that's written for him or her?
Um, well, there's a lot of ghostwriters, right, across the board. And I fear I never thought of that with MLK. I thought he was true, and he at least wrote the bare script before all of his PR people basically chimed in here and there. You know, to shout out oil, shout out gas, you know, shit like that. But I don't mind either one. I don't mind either one. They could, you know, have the writers do that, and they could read off of it as long as they've had their own 2 cents added in, or the basis of the speech, the core of it, the core message is still their own. The rest is all fluff that needs to be said for whatever reason. I don't mind that. But then when they go off the cuff, see, that's where it gets a little bit different, because at this point you don't have those additional helpers kind of editing and producing your work for you. I don't mind them doing that so long as they stay consistent with their message and they are, how do I say, being true and not just stating nonsense and nonsensical, you know, ideas that are just meant to instigate a particular reaction. Right. So I don't mind.
I hear you. I hear you. And you bring up MLK, and that's interesting because I think there's been a kind of a new documentary about MLK. I don't know if you've heard of it,
Really?
but they were going into specifically the FBI's investigation of MLK when he was in his peak, public stature.
Sure.
And I didn't know this about MLK because, you know, growing up, probably like yourself, I think we always knew of him as a civil rights hero,
Yep.
as an
I have a
activist.
dream.
That's right.
Basically, yeah.
That's
yeah.
right. Famous speech, and you know everybody kind of reveres him even to this day. But kind of, you know, going into that documentary a little bit. Not that I watched it, but I heard the interview of the director on NPR. He was kind of just talking about it overall, and apparently, uh, the head of the FBI at the time, J. Edgar Hoover, um, you know, public perception was very, very different back then of the government and civil rights activists compared to how they are viewed today. Obviously, this is like more than 50 years ago, so you have to wonder how times were, what was okay to do, what was okay to say, what kind of rhetoric was being used back then is different from what's acceptable today. And the FBI was actually viewed quite favorably
Hmm.
uh, because they were the ones keeping the gangsters off the streets, keeping, you know, the thugs and criminals at bay, protecting people. And people like Martin Luther King, you know, for all the good things we know him to have done, you know, uh, just reading our history books and watching his speeches today, back then, a lot of people feared him and thought that he was this guy that was rebelling against peace and calm and the status quo. And that wasn't always viewed favorably. So the FBI was doing almost everything it could to discredit Martin Luther King Jr. And the way that they were doing that, I don't know if you know this, but MLK, the documentary goes into this, had a lot of extramarital affairs.
Mm.
And the FBI was wiretapping the hotel rooms next to the hotels that MLK would check into whenever he was visiting city to city giving speeches. And they were basically trying to even plant informants at the hotel, like, you know, doing the linens, doing, you know, the front desk work, whatever it may be, and trying to set him up, trying to capture him, you know, with his associates in an incriminating position. And apparently the FBI tried to like share this evidence with the local newspapers and the media outlets, but for whatever reason, the media outlets back then actually had a shred of dignity, and they weren't like TMZ. They decided not to really expose Martin Luther King. And it was because of that that I think Martin Luther King was so effective and continued to be effective until he was assassinated so tragically. He was able to kind of, you know, push his civil rights
Yeah.
activism without being hunkered down by all this extra noise about his private life. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you knew about those details
I didn't.
about
And
his
now
life.
I'm like, fuck, why did I use that answer? Um, I think everybody has their dark side, right? You and I both are not excluded from that. Me especially,
Sure,
probably
sure.
tenfold more than 20 maybe. But yeah, I mean, it does definitely bring some murkiness to the whole thing, and whether or not the purity of the person really impacts the words that they say and the impact they may have had on whatever movement they had participated in or elevated. Do you think that matters?
I think so. This is a very, very good question. Um, I think it can. I think it certainly can because think about it this way: if Martin Luther King was, let's say some kind of activist today,
Sure.
and the similar situation happened today where government agencies were wiretapping him or found evidence of his rampant, you know, extramarital affairs, there's no way the media would hold it back. I
Yeah,
think
it's
we
like
live in a
Tiger
different.
Woods, right? And that
Exactly.
was
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
10
I
years
mean,
ago, at
I
least,
think
something like
so.
that.
And for people that don't recall, Tiger Woods, of course, one of the best golfers ever. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's unanimously kind of agreed upon, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been able to accomplish so much, and even push the sport of golf to new heights. Um, but when you look at his private life, he has had many, many extramarital affairs,
Mm-hmm.
and they were, publicized. Newspapers, gossip magazines, media outlets revealed all that
Yeah,
information, and
basically began the downfall of the greatest Tiger or the greatest golf player to ever play the game. That's
exactly,
where it all started going downhill. It's because he
exactly.
wasn't fucking before the tournament, man. That's why. That was it.
I think it's kind of what you said. Like, it's more so. It's not just the dark side. I think that's kind of a simplistic way of putting it. I think it's people are wired differently, right? I,
Mm-hmm.
I think what motivates, what inspires, what keeps people at a certain level of their game, for lack of a better expression, is different for everybody. And for Tiger, it seemed like he needed that kind of lifestyle, that dichotomy. In one sense, he has this very clean cut image in the public light. Like, people view him as a very clean cut character. His friends know him to be a trash talker, but then you also have this other side of Tiger that was completely hidden from the public. And it's almost like he needed that constant, juxtaposition to
Yeah,
keep him at the top of his
yeah,
game.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, it seems like we all have some form of pretender syndrome that goes on. Um, when you're at the top of the top, your particular sport or your particular movement or your particular whatever, there
Mhm.
seems to still want to be something inside of you, something in your ancestral DNA that
Mhm.
wants you to
Mhm.
keep on doing something that you shouldn't be doing because it makes you feel good for whatever reason or whatever it may be. There's always
Mhm.
one piece in all of us that needs something we can't, or society says we shouldn't have. And we're all guilty of that. That's why we go to school. We pretend and we learn in that process, right? Pretending and learning to me are synonymous because we pretend like we're experts in a particular field by going through one textbook, often the seventh edition for some goddamn reason. Um, and we pretend that, oh, I beat the curve. I am now a master of this subject when we have just simply accepted the notion that getting things right on a particular test, multiple choice most often, deems you that mastery. I don't know. It's something. I'm sure there's academics behind, whether or not the psychology of it or the um, just why. It'd be interesting. What do you think it falls under? Is it, it's
well,
philosophy for sure. Some mental disorders for sure. A little bit of
well, I think it's psychological, as you said, and I can even shed some more light about Tiger, not just his extramarital affairs, but I heard from a
mm,
colleague of mine.
Oxford Student Journal.
in years past that, I guess he watched some documentaries about Tiger, and basically went into Tiger's childhood. And Tiger likes to give the impression that he's had a tough upbringing. Like he wants that story, he wants that narrative basically to be broadcasted, that he's had a chip on his shoulder all of his life and he's
Hmm.
had to basically come up. But when you really look at his background, when you really look at his childhood, he didn't have it that bad. Like he's not like your boy Ant-Man. He's not Anthony Edwards. He's not like a dog. He's not trying to do everything possible. Scratching and climbing his way up the social ladder. He was given kind of a nice head start. Let's put it that way. And for whatever reason, though, I think for his own ego, for his own whole Tiger Woods persona to work, he needs to believe that he's had it rough and he's made it so far. Like he's come up from almost nothing. And that kind of feeds into his overall psyche, you know?
Sure.
It's very psychological, and to kind of go back to the greater point that you were leading on to so magnificently, I will say I think the human ego is very fragile, and we do a lot of things to protect it. We have a lot of mental gymnastics that we play to kind of make ourselves feel good about ourselves, to make ourselves feel good about the decisions we make every day, regardless of how little they are. And sometimes even the big decisions, which don't actually work out, we still try to rationalize them. We still try to say, oh, no, it's fine. I mean, we'll find a path, we'll be okay. And our mind is very, very powerful. You know this, Don. Your mind is extremely powerful.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe not as powerful, but still,
Okay,
some
my friend.
yes. Case in point. Case in point, right there, my friend. But I think it's just you know, we need different things to motivate us, to inspire us, to keep us going. And maybe if you're performing at these high levels in intense situations with immense pressure, like Tiger Woods was, like, many, celebrities that we know of have gone through because of their stature. They're always under scrutiny. They're always under pressure to perform. Maybe it just takes something dark, like you said, some dark necessities,
Sure.
perhaps, to keep oneself going. And I'm sure we can get into psychology 101 and understand the motivating factors behind human beings some more. But I think it's just something that shows nobody's perfect. You can find heroes everywhere. You can find heroes on TV, whether they're fictional, whether they're, real. But if you dig hard enough, like your dog Yuzu likes to do,
Oh yeah.
you may not find something that you want to see. You may
Yeah,
not
you
want
just
to. You
gotta,
may not. Yeah,
you
go
gotta,
ahead.
you gotta brush it under the rug. Put it under the couch. Hide it. Hide it. I think.
I disagree. I think the
Um,
right way to approach it is you have to own who you are. You have to.
personally, sure, yeah, for all of us internally. But then when you have such an icon, right? Why why tarnish something that plenty of people look up to? I think for the general
Because it may
populace,
not be the entire truth then, right? If you're
well,
basically only showing the good, is that really fair to the public?
yeah. So no, it's not right because everybody's entitled to know the truth, right? But at the same time, if you're trying to motivate people, like when people would go off to war, um, it's a very dirty subject that you have to live up to. But the generals of those would say, "Hey, we're doing this because we need to save everybody back home. Everything is fine." Go into that war knowing that you're doing the right thing. When at the end of the day, it's a war and people are dying. So I think to in some cases, and in many cases actually, hiding the complete truth and providing the safety of not knowing the dirty things can actually become more impactful to the end goal. And if you tarnish that sight, you listeners will begin to beg the question of why I'm even doing this in the first place. I feel that if we all realize that all the leaders we've had are broken people, normal people are broken people. We accept that. We know that. We're educated enough to understand that. But I believe there has to be those. There actually exists. There has to be someone that may not just be at the highest caliber person or in highest caliber position, where there actually are pure and of good heart, and their darknesses aren't really, questionable darknesses. They're like, hey, I like to have a drink tonight, like yours truly, or oh, I enjoy an occasional cigarette here and there, stuff like that.
Wait, but I think you're saying two different things here, though. On the one hand, you're saying that it's better to hide some of the truth for the greater good, which I understand. And then on the other hand, you're saying somewhere along the way, you'll have people who have some darknesses that aren't that bad, which may be even more relatable to everyday people and maybe accepted by everyday people. So, which one are you saying more of? You're saying that it's better to hide the truth in general and kind of
Well, I think there comes
tailor
this.
it.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go on the previous portion where it's good to hide the truth from some people.
Okay.
I think it's a terrible thing to say. I know. It fucking sucks that I have to be saying this right now. Live. For everybody's listening ears. But, when you're teaching kids certain things, like what we've learned, sometimes hiding the truth creates an ideation of what could be and gives children something to reach towards. If you tarnish it, at least personally speaking, if you were to tarnish it when I was younger, I'd probably be like, why the fuck should I care of being a good boy all the time when all these things that I want to do, which are typically frowned upon because they're not necessarily progressive or conducive to a successful youth, are done. So yeah, hiding shit's fine.
I mean, I get that. I think what you're getting into now is more of uh, a little bit of censorship, especially when it comes to uh, kind of teaching the youth or showing what's acceptable to the youth. And
Mm-hmm.
that's there in every culture for sure. Because obviously, you know, you do hide the truth when you're raising children. You're
Mm-hmm.
obviously not going to put all the cards on the table. You have to kind of build a world for them and
Yeah, at least the
hope
framework
that
of it.
yeah, like you build a framework of it, you guide them the best that you can, you show them, you give them different experiences, but then ultimately you hope that with all the tools, with all the lessons that they've developed through life, through schooling, through parenting, they're able to make the right choices later on in life. I think that's what you really hope for. Um, and so yeah, I do get the basic premise of what you're saying. I think to make it less general, what I was more going toward is you know, in terms of these super popular height of their power types of leaders, I think it's a very slippery slope when they're viewed as these icons, right? They're viewed as these bigger than life type of people where they're worshipped. Like literally the ground they're walking on is worshipped. I think that's scary. I think for people like, let's say, and I'm debating, should I say Trump or Kanye? Trump or Kanye? Let's go
Cut
with.
of the same cloth.
I know. That's the sad part about this realization that I'm having. Like let's say you look at a guy like Trump, who's had a rabid following of sorts, right? I think he's the type of person that can actually tell you that he's not a great human being. He can tell you really bad shit, but his followers will still love him for that.
Sure.
And the followers will still ride with him till the end.
Got it.
And in other cases, Trump is telling everybody he's a great guy, he's the best. There's nobody who's less racist than him, and his other followers will believe that and they'll roll with him. And I just kind of wonder, ultimately, this is all just politics, right? What we're talking about is hiding a part of the truth and emphasizing, accentuating others for a particular policy, for a particular message that we're trying to convey to the people. As you mentioned, to kind of drive home the greater point toward the audience, toward the children, whatever it may be. I think that's been done since the dawn of time, and it will continue to be done in that way. And it's not until we kind of grow up a little bit and we've been around the block a few times, we've
Hmm.
seen leaders come and go, that we
Hmm.
realize, people are broken. Everybody has baggage, and some people are better at dealing with it than others. Some people have more baggage than others. Some people could be a little bit psychopathic. Some people could be a little bit sociopathic. Whatever gets them through the day gets them through the day. But I think the bottom line is, as you grow old, as you mature, you realize that nobody out there is perfect and the truth is never as clean as it may seem. But if you're a sensible individual, like we both are on the SoCal DNA, like one of us is on the SoCal DNA, I think you'll find that it's important to take things in the round. It's important to strike a balance and assess a human being for all the good things that they've done
Sure.
and balance it with the bad things that they've done. And you kind of look at it overall, what are they more known for,
Yeah,
right?
and I think it's more important to celebrate the good things in life. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. Why are we going to delve into such negativity when there's been such a huge contribution a person has made? Now he or she, we're not going to wipe it under the rug completely and say, hey, you get a free pass because you were fantastic at what you did. But I think we got to look more at the accomplishments more than anything else, and I think that's what really dictates how movers and shakers in this world are measured and written about. It's their successes, it's their notables, um, that make them unique, that we really care about. Everybody, not everybody, many people have affairs and side chicks and shit like that, as MLK did. And that's like one of the people that, you and I both respect for what they brought. And the guy I'm talking about is none other than Kobe Bryant, RIP, right? It was like his anniversary a while back, and still hurts, man. But there's something that I want to talk to you about. I'm sure we're kind of over the subject of this whole psychological thriller that we've been building up to.
Sure.
Kobe, uh, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, to the likes of Michael Jordan and other iconic players, like LeBron for today, or Wilt, if you will, and some would say even Magic and Bird, among others. But for our recency bias, there's three iconic names that come to mind. It's Kobe, Michael, and LeBron. We're coming to this day and age. LeBron's the only one playing still, and he's, I would argue, not. He's coming near to retirement, but the way things are looking, that fucker is still going, dude. That train still has a ton of coal in it.
Yeah.
With the new generation up and coming, or rather those that are still playing today or are playing today, who's that next iconic figure? I think the train has already set sail on Kevin Durant, because he's past that peak, or he's not past the peak. He unfortunately had the same time period that LeBron had, and LeBron is obviously king. Durant is great, will be a Hall of Famer, but people younger than Durant, who do you think is going to reach that level of respect?
Well, you're not going to like this answer, but I'm going to say nobody. I think
Hmm.
nobody in the current NBA that I can see is going to reach that, MJ, Kobe, LeBron status. Um, I think you'll have a lot of great players. I mean, don't get me wrong. You said younger than KD, right? So I
Yeah,
think,
younger than KD.
I think you have, uh,
I'm talking
and
like the Trays of the world, the Tatums of the world, the Ingrams of the world.
yeah, see, like all those guys, they're great. I mean, they're good, but I just don't think that they're gonna get to that level because it's difficult, right? It's not like you're guaranteed to see a player like that every some odd years.
Yeah,
Um, but when they do arrive, everybody knows. Like
yeah.
everybody
Well,
knows.
and
Everybody sees.
that's something that Zion was supposed to be, right?
No, no, not at
No,
all.
he
Not
was
at all.
hype, man. He was supposed to be the next king. He was lined
No,
up.
he wasn't. He was
Yeah, he
not. He
was.
was not. I think we confuse hype with greatness all the time.
Sure.
All the time. We
But
do it
he
all the
had
time.
the same hype that, or not the same, a more modernized hype built around him that LeBron had when he was entering the league.
You know who else had a lot of hype? LaMelo Ball.
He's doing great though, Rookie of the Year, bro.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is hype is always going to be around, and even more so now because of social media,
Sure.
right? Like, I think social media will make every young player who's something special blow
Yeah.
up, right? They'll get like millions of followers before they're even in the NBA, and they'll get tons of shoe endorsements and contracts and everything. That's always going to happen. I'm not really talking about that. I don't really care about all that stuff. What I'm caring about is who's going to be really the best of the best, who's going to be up there in the pantheon of all-time greats, in the top 10 players in NBA history. Do I see anybody in the current NBA younger than KD that can be in that top 10? No.
Joker.
And explain.
Um, very impactful. Whenever he's on the court, all eyes are on him. He is the leader of his team. He makes everybody better. He hits a triple double from time to time. His averages are, I'm looking it up, 20, 10, and 7 as of last year. And he's only getting better. He's playing with a modernized game
Okay.
more
No, I
so
mean,
than a typical
brought
center
up
would.
you've brought up 10 points that are extremely generic, and let me just counter with some questions here. How many MVPs has he won?
0.
How many titles has he won?
Maybe one after this year.
Oh wow, you're gonna put that out there?
Hey, I'm just saying it's possible.
Okay, I suppose it's possible for.
Hey, I think Denver honestly has a fucking solid chance. They are a solid team. Now, if they keep their team healthy and everybody else starts to get COVID and have broken knees and whatever, I could see them making a run for the money.
Well, as much as you like Denver, I think when assessing Nikola Jokic and his, chances of finishing his career as a Hall of Famer, pantheon of greatness type of player, I don't see it. I really don't see it. I don't think you become that later on in your career. I think you become that in the first few years.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I think after
Like Luka right now.
Okay, so that's interesting, right? I think Luca has a lot of hype around him. I think he is putting up amazing performances, especially last year. I think he had a brilliant season. Now, I think he's still young, of course, but I wonder if he
22.
can keep it up. I wonder if he can really keep it up and stay healthy. That's my
Yeah.
concern about him
Yeah.
because unlike other people in the league, he's kind of an old 22, right? Is that what you said? He's 22 years
Yeah, he's
old.
22.
He's been playing professional basketball for years, and I can only imagine that his body may wear down a little faster because of all the ball that he's been playing at such a high level early on in his life.
Sure.
So is he going to be in the category of a LeBron, a Kobe, a MJ? I don't really see it, to be honest, but that's not a knock against him. I think it's really difficult to compare anybody who's younger than KD to those three guys. But if Jokic is the best player you can come up with, and then the second being Doncic, I gotta say, man, it doesn't look good for the league,
Well,
huh?
yeah. Well, look, and then there's younger players I could think of that still have to show the flair, like a Ja Morant.
I don't even think John Moran thinks he's gonna be as good as MJ, Kobe, or fucking
Oh, come on,
LeBron
come on!
James.
Everybody entering the league that is a top 20 pick, I think they go in with the mentality of being the guy. The same could be said
Well,
for Shy, right? Yeah, I'm not going to include him in the conversation, but I'm saying that mentality. You see it on the court. He's like, I'm the guy. I think
there's a
everybody
difference.
has it.
There's a difference between want to become the guy and the best in the league versus the
Hmm.
best of all time.
You think John? He's not as outspoken as I'd like him to be for this case or this point.
I think the truth is, and you're kind of beginning to realize it. Besides the fact that I'm right, I think the truth is
You just had to slide that in, huh?
I had to slide that in. It's
The knife was
slippery.
already in. Why'd you twist?
I, I love I love to twist, man. I love to twist it, trying to get all those blood cells out. But I mean, it just there's players that I like, right? There's
Mhm.
players that I enjoy watching, but I know in my heart of hearts that they're not going to be as impactful as Kobe Bryant was, and for that reason, I would say that my enthusiasm for the league has diminished.
Whoa!
No, no, I mean, this is nothing new. I think this is well known. Um, I think once you've experienced the heights that you've experienced with
Yeah,
one of your favorite players of all time, Kobe Bryant, everything that comes after is not quite the same,
sure,
but you appreciate it in a different way. You contextualize it so you can enjoy it.
sure.
And I think that's very fair. I think that's very practical. Um, I like Devin Booker. I think he's exciting. I think it's awesome when he pops off for
I
60.
purposely didn't say anything about him because he's not. He's a glorified shooter.
I like Lonzo Ball, and I think it would have been great if he stayed a Laker. I was a little bummed that he went to the Pelicans, and now he may be a journeyman, as
Oh,
the
he's
rumors.
definitely a journeyman now. Unless they're trying to light a fire under him and include him in trade talks to try to instigate or force a revitalization of some sort in his game.
I like Giannis. I think Giannis is a solid player
Sure.
overall. He has flaws though, as we talked about at length in a previous episode with
Sure.
the legendary Leroy Tung moonlighting in that one. I just think all the players that I even remotely enjoy following and like, I enjoy them for the moment, but do they compare to Kobe? No. Do they compare to MJ, who I didn't really get a chance to watch?
Hmm.
No, they don't. Do they compare to LeBron, who we're watching now? Absolutely not. They do not, absolutely.
Sure.
So I just have to kind of contextualize that, you know what? Sometimes it's not really about having the best of the best, one of the pantheon of greatness people in the league at the moment. You appreciate the league for what it is and you normalize it, right? It's just like the college classes that you were talking about before, you know, taking the test and trying to score better than your peers. Really, that's what the NBA is. The NBA, at least to me at the moment, is always graded on a curve. Who is the best in your class? When LeBron retires, who is the apex? Is it a Giannis? Maybe. Two-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. The accolades certainly speak on it. Maybe it's a Steph Curry type shooter. You're pretty much working in that range, right? Maybe KD, maybe he's fully back, and that's what you're working with. And sure, if that's enough for you, great, that's fantastic. But I don't think it's fair to compare anybody like that to a LeBron, Kobe, and MJ. So my 2 cents is nobody in this league. Maybe in the future we'll have somebody that'll really take the NBA by the horns and put up numbers that we've never seen before, and really show that yes, they deserve to be in that conversation. But for now, not a soul, not a single soul, my friend.
Yeah. No, I think if I bypass the whole older or younger than KD, the only person that came close to reaching that echelon would be Stephen Curry, just for the fact that he helped modernize the 3-point game. But aside from that, the dynasty that they put together, there's no one really that reaches that caliber of greatness, at least in today, that we could analyze and think of. No one really comes close.
You know what's funny? We haven't even mentioned Kawhi Leonard, even though
fuck that, dude. Oh, LA Streets bullshit. Get the fuck out of here. Go cry to Uncle Dennis. That's his name, right? Dennis.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's fine. We don't have to bring up.
Well, because look, he's MJ, Kobe, and LeBron were bigger than basketball even when they were in the league. I think that's something that you haven't really touched on. They had an impact, definitely noticeable, an irrefutable impact on the hardwood, and they had an impact outside of basketball. Nobody in the league has that in today. Can you think of any?
Well, I mean, if you wanna delve into that a little bit, I think. Well, nobody in the league has that. LeBron has that too.
Yeah,
he's the only one
but that's why he's already invented.
He's in that trio. Yeah, I think, but it's interesting, right? Because LeBron has it for reasons that we found annoying early on in his career. Like, I didn't really like all the extra shit that LeBron got into while he was on the come up in Cleveland. I thought, why is he hosting SNL? He kind of sucks. Why is he, getting into that, doing this? Why is he putting his name out there all the time? But I understood in the back of my mind, he's growing his brand. All athletes trying to grow their brand. But now you realize, it actually worked. Like all the extra shit that he was doing to kind of get his name out there and to do all these events and these, productions, through his company, you see that he is bigger than basketball. LeBron James is a notable figure worldwide for more reasons than one. And that's exactly what Kobe Bryant was. That's exactly what Michael Jordan is. And you try to see who may be following in those footsteps in the league. And there are some people who are very outspoken. Don't get me wrong. There are some people who don't quite know what they're talking about, like a Kyrie Irving, for instance.
That's my dude.
Sometimes he believes that the earth is flat. Sometimes he believes that there's more to life than basketball, which is true. But when he says it, I really don't care. And it's a situation where none of these younger players really speak out to me. Maybe they speak out to the youth, Don. Maybe they speak out to people who are in their teens and they inspire them in different ways. But to me, it's like, I don't really see you doing anything that's that amazing, other than those silent heroes who do volunteer, do a lot of good work for their own communities and donate and all that, but don't talk about it too much. I have tremendous respect for them, but I don't think that's what we're talking about here. We're not really talking about, that level of impact, as great as it is. We're talking about impact beyond basketball in terms of like celebrity status, in terms of, having your name be a household name in almost any conversation. Um, I like your point about Stephen Curry, Dom, to be honest with you. I think it's a great point because very few players have had that kind of an impact on the game where they weaponized the 3-point shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stephen Curry is a mobile artillery unit. He can pull up from anywhere and make that shot on a consistent basis. And kids all over the world look up to him as this, amazing god level shooter. And to many people, even people who have been covering the game for years, like you and me, notice how I said covering the game like we're reporters. We view Curry as the best shooter of all time. Would you say that? To me, he is. Shooter, just shooter.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, you have great shooters to compare to. Recency bias says yes, but you have to throw in Reggie Miller.
No, you don't. Okay, even Reggie Miller would say on Reggie's best night and Stephen Curry's worst, Steph is still better than him.
And then you gotta throw in Klay. If you're talking just straight shooting,
Klay for me is one of the best catch and shoot shooters. Catch and shoot.
I-
Remember,
like-
we had this conversation, right? The difference between like a catch and shoot guy versus like a straight up
Yeah.
mobile shooter.
Yeah, we're talking about archetypes and shit. Hey,
Is it
all right,
bad?
at least
Yeah.
for me, man. If we
Yeah.
were talking Steph and Klay, I would much rather have Klay take the final shot than Steph.
Okay, if I heard you correctly, you were kind of cutting a little bit in and out.
Sorry.
If it's between Steph and Klay, and
Yeah.
who would I pick to take the final shot? If I got that right.
And I pick Klay.
Okay.
Respect to Curry, right? Both fantastic decisions. But if
Uh-huh.
I had the chance to control it, I would put it in Klay's hands. Pre-injury.
Well, when you say that though, are we talking off the dribble or catch and shoot?
I'm just saying whoever has the best shot available, it's going to Klay rather than Steph. Let's say you got Draymond right there, right in the paint, and Klay is open and Steph is open. I'm giving it to Klay.
Why not Draymond take it himself?
Because Draymond's a bum and I named my car after him. And you know what? He's good for one purpose, and that's to piss off people on the road.
Oh my God! You named your car after Draymond?
Oh yeah,
What-
dude.
why?
Because
Okay.
he's aggressive, man. I love Draymond. The personality of it. It's not the best car, right? I drive a Forester. It's a great car, really good car. But it's not a Maserati. I'm not going to name it LeBron or LaMelo. And it's not a Camry, so I'm not going to name it Alonzo, right? So you gotta go in the middle. You know, a star caliber, above average player, right? That's rough and tough, loud, kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
You know, we'll
No,
get the eyes.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
It's
Okay.
I think it's a strong car name. Come on, you gotta give me props on that.
I think it's a terrible. I think it's a terrible name for a car. But
What's your car name?
I don't name my car, dude.
Oh,
I
man,
think
you're
it's a-
missing out on some important pieces of life right here. You gotta name
All
your
right,
car, man.
great. I think calling my car a Honda Civic is plenty enough. I think that's fine. So between Klay and Curry, I find it difficult to say that without understanding the context. of the situation.
Yeah, like
If it's like ball in his hands, then Curry,
of
easily
course,
Curry.
of course.
But if you're running a play and you're basically trying to free up Klay somehow, I would trust Klay because to me, Klay's catch and shoot ability is the best in the league today.
okay,
And I know he's been out for like 2 years, and I hope he recovers because I do want to see him, kick ass again. As much as
Okay.
I hated seeing him do that on Golden State,
sure.
I think it's important for him
Well-
to come back to the league.
Then to change up the question, then just to make it
yeah.
a little more easy, 10
Yeah.
seconds on the clock. You have the option of giving Klay a catch and shoot play, or you just give the ball to Curry and let Curry do work. Which one do you pick?
I would have to say I give the ball to Curry, man. I think I like his chances. I think he's a guy that can step it up. He hasn't shown too many clutch performances, I know,
Sure.
but he's a guy that does have that gene in him. And I think I'd rather roll with him because
That's fair. It's fair. They're both
With-
both solid choices, regardless. At the end of the day, I like my boy
Yeah.
Klay.
no, I mean that's where I'm rolling with it. To be honest, you can't really go wrong there. I think both of them are very good looks. To be honest with you,
Definitely.
whether it's a Klay 3 or a Curry 3 or whatever, I think it's a very sound decision you'll make. But
Yep.
I must wonder though, do you think Klay will still have it when he comes back from injury?
I think so. I think as long as he's well, as with modern technology, I think injuries that are usually detrimental to the success of a player, of a high caliber player at that. The technology has evolved so much that it's not as big of a deal as it was before. When old players, and by old I mean, the eras before today's generation of basketball players, an injury of that magnitude would basically be career ending. If anything, you were at best a role player. I'm coming back. We see it in today's game. Look at Kevin Durant. that is supposed to be a career-ending injury based off of historical precedent. But because of modern technology and modern surgery, he's still balling out, which is fantastic to see. As much as I dislike what his moves in the league, he's still a fantastic player that if he comes to the Lakers, you know what? We're going to brush all that under the rug that I said about you, and I'm going to go get a number 35 jersey. So I think Klay, the amount of strain it takes to do that catch and pop shot can put a lot of strain on your legs, especially when you pivot around a big and just basically have one motion, all weight on your legs to just catch and shoot. I think he'll be fine. Whether or not he's going to have the teammates that are going to be able to provide that level of security, I'm not sure. But spot up shooter, dude, he's still going to be a 3-point specialist at the end of the day, at the very least. Pop him in the corner, that's fine. Don't play defense, man. Just hang out right there. We'll throw it to you. That's a guaranteed 3.
Yeah, what worries me a little bit is, will Klay now become just a 3-point specialist and no longer a 3D guy, right? Because one thing that we haven't talked about, yes, KD, I would say he's about 80-85% back, but is his defense back too? I don't know. I haven't been watching the Nets.
Brooklyn doesn't play defense. What are you talking about?
There you go. And he probably doesn't help currently, but that's also maybe by design. I heard there's some coaching decisions where Steve Nash is like, you know what? I don't want to overburden KD so early. I don't want to have him do that much work on the defensive side of the ball, which maybe he's doing the same for Harden and for Kyrie.
Yeah, basically everybody.
Yeah. But I worry that, going back to Klay's prime, and it's sad to talk about it this way, but in Klay's prime, he was the league's one of the best 3-and-D players in the league for sure. Like, he'd be a lockdown guy, he'd play great D, and he'd do the catch and shoot on the other side. But now, if he's just a catch and shoot guy, and let's say an average defender, what does that make him? That still makes him valuable, but I just think he's no longer an all-star. I think we've seen the last all-star appearance of Klay Thompson ever.
Yeah, no, I agree, because there's many up-and-comers that reach that all-star, or have reached that all-star caliber. If anything, he's now, one of the last picks off the bench for the all-star team to round out the team. Unfortunate. Now that I think about it, I like Klay. Yeah.
And we hope that all NBA players returning from injury, recovering at the moment even, do come back to their full strength. Whether, you're like a Klay Thompson, a TJ Warren, or, whoever else in the league. Because I think the league is better. It's more interesting. It's more exciting when you have the best talent playing. Who wants to see a season go by where player after player is sidelined? Like we're kind of having now with these COVID restrictions and COVID protocols. It's not that fun. It's not fun to see, or maybe for Don it is, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George miss 10 games or miss like 10 days in a row because, they can't stay away from Atlanta or whatever the case may be. I think it's been a mess this season. Players are both getting injured as they normally do year after year. And also COVID is holding them out too. I just hope that the NBA finds a way to bring it all together, maybe put all the guys in a bubble come playoff time and go to the finish line with as many healthy bodies as possible. Because like I said, the league is always in a better place when the best players are playing and we get to watch all the action. So Don,
shit, I had myself muted there really quick.
Oh, okay.
You're completely right. And I think we should go ahead and wrap up this episode.
Yes.
I think we had some great points. Thank you guys for listening, as always. And until next time, we'll catch you on the flippity flip.
Take care, guys.